Hello friends, thanks for tuning in for another Accent Quickie. I'm your host, Kelly Ruddle, and today's accent is Italiano. If you're tuning in for the first time, let me just give you a brief overview. Episodes in the Accent Quickie video series cover the top 3 or 4 phonetic changes that make a dialect distinguishable from others and how you can make those changes happen. These videos are great for actors who only have a short amount of time to prep for an audition, or for someone who's interested in studying the dialect, but they want a little taste or preview of it first. Now, before I start going over the individual phonetic changes of the Italian accent, I do want to mention that there is a wonderful trait in the language itself that helps to add to the rhythm and musicality when you're performing the accent for the stage or screen. Once I point this trait out to my students and we play with it a little bit, it's amazing the difference that it makes, and it adds to the fun. We'll cover that trait at the end of the video. But for now, important Italian sound number 1, a to ah. The short ah sound found in American speech on words like can, ham, and pancetta becomes ah, as in spa, in the Italian dialect. To make this change from ah, you're just going to bring the corners of the mouth in and drop the jaw ever so slightly, going from ah to ah. Ah, ah. This means that can, ham, and pancetta become can, ham, pancetta. Let's try a few more. Apple, sat, bag, pamper, romance, gather. Nancy is on the track back to Padua. That rascal Salvatore snatched all the cash. Mwah! Fantasia. On to the next sound. Important Italian sound number 2, O to O. The O diphthong on words like load, roam, and suppose becomes shortened and simplified in the Italian accent. For those of you who might not know the lingo, a diphthong is a vowel sound that has 2 parts to it. In Standard American, this sound starts with O, pure vowel O, and the second part is as in should. O, 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 O. See the movement in my lips? There's movement in the sound. Okay, so what does this mean for the Italian dialect? What it means is you're going to eliminate the second part of the sound and elongate the first part, which means O will be O, and therefore load, roam, and suppose will become load, roam, suppose. Let's try a few more. No, old, toe, clothing, Moscow, Risoli. Wear your coat, it gets cold in Verona. Joseph left Idaho to go home to Rome. Bravo! Moving on. Important Italian sound number 3, E and I to I. The E sound as in see and feet, and the I sound as in bit and fin become indistinguishable in the Italian accent. What happens when either of these sounds occur in an English word, an Italian speaker will make a sound that sounds somewhere in between the two. E. Let's go through some sounds that are phonetically similar so you can see what I mean. Seat and sit become sit. That means if both words were to occur in a sentence, you would hear something like sit in the seat. You see, both words sound exactly the same. You will have to be careful with this phonetic characteristic when you're thinking about audience comprehension. Let's go through some examples just like that. We'll go back and forth between 2 American words and we'll fall somewhere in between the 2. Deem, dim, dim. Leap, lip, lip. Keen, kin, keen. And now let's try some words on their own. Eat, be, with, tis, ship, reason. She's mean when she can't eat peaches. Wish, since, pin, itch, finish, chilled. His twin is sad from missing him. Bellissimo. On to the last sound. Important Italian sound number 4, turning the TH sounds into plosives. For the TH sounds, both the voiced and the unvoiced versions, those are pronounced differently in Italian. What do I mean between voiced and unvoiced? Well, what I mean is that phonetically, your tongue is doing the exact same thing. It's just that you're producing sound on one, but not the other. For example, the unvoiced TH sound on words like thankful, 30, and thorough. See how there's no voice production on the sound. What happens in those cases is that the TH sound becomes T, and therefore words like thankful, 30, and thorough will sound like thankful, 30, thorough. Likewise, the voiced version of the TH sound on words like them, this, and that. Do you hear? The vocal cords are on play on the th sound. What happens in those cases is the TH will become D. So them, this, and that will become them, this, that. A quick disclaimer here in case you go watch some samples after this video. You might, on the rare occasion, hear an Italian speaker use S or Z in these cases. What does that mean? Well, it means instead of thankful, you might hear thankful, or instead of them, you might hear them. But because it is so much less common, for the sake of this tutorial video, we're going to stick with T and D. Think, tissel, true, tri, mit, tia, tot 3 checks was toro. Da, those, these, their, mother, clothing. They load those clothes. It's hard to breathe. Congratulazioni! You just learned 4 important changes that will put you on your way to mastering the Italian accent. And remember that language trait that I mentioned at the beginning of the video? You may have noticed from some of the Italian words that I spoke / possibly butchered throughout the course of the video that the vast majority of words in the Italian language all end in vowel sounds. Bravo, pasta, bellissimo, amami Alfredo. And so on and so forth. Because Italian speakers are so used to words ending in vowel sounds, it can sometimes be difficult for them, especially if they haven't been speaking English for very long, to speak an English word that ends with a plosive. Great, good, eat. So what they'll often do is they'll bounce off of the plosive with an unstressed vowel sound. Good, great, eat. See, there's a slight sound at the end of that very last consonant. Watch this quick sample of actor-director Roberto Benigni on The Graham Norton Show, and you'll hear a little bit better about what I mean.
No, really, I really, this is a very steak pot. May I tell you the story? It's very short, very short, yeah. But it was unbelievable. because I went in Los Angeles for publicity for the film. No, I landed in Los Angeles. They called me in the hotel. The Pope want to see you. No, I stayed back. I came back. I flew back. Yeah. I flew back, and I've been told the Pope want to see the movie with you. You know, he dedicate maybe 1 hour for Clinton, for the president. For me, an entire day.
Play around with that trait a little bit, and you'll see what I mean. There's a chance you may have heard me make some other phonetic changes today that we didn't specifically cover, and that's because there are more changes that you can learn. If you are interested in studying the dialect further, or if you had any questions about what we covered in today's video, you can always visit me at speakthespeech.net and reach out via the contact form. In the meantime, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you had fun, I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you next time. Take care out there and break a leg.